Aloha, long time no see. Welcome back. This is Hercules Prince of Power issue 1. I covered this in a video just a little bit ago, so I'm not really going to talk about this. I guess I'm not really going to talk about this. I got a lot to show off. This is multiple weeks worth of stuff here, sort of. Some stuff from last week, some stuff from this week. This is technically last week's video, but it'll have stuff from this week as well, so it's kind of all merging together. Sorry about that, but you're going to be getting 2 pulls and pickups this week. One to make up for last week's pulls and pickups being a week before that, so on and so forth. But these issues 1 through 4 were pretty enjoyable for what they were. And if you want to see me talk about them, click the card in the top right. But I'm not really going to talk about them at all here. But in a similar vein, I wanted to show them off again. One thing, because they were pickups. They were supposed to be in this pulls and pickups, and this was going to come out before the other video. And also because it relates to Boulder the Brave. I haven't showed this off yet. This is also a 4-part miniseries coming out from around the same time. It was 1984, I believe. Let's see here, 1985. And this is very similar. Both of them are Thor characters. Both had a 4-issue limited series from around this time. And yeah, so as you can see here, some classic kind of styled art from the time. And Boulder, what's interesting is how the Hercules series doesn't actually take place within the same universe that the Thor comics of that time took place in, and I imagine they did that so they wouldn't have to necessarily have to worry about how it tied in. I'm not aware if this series does or not, if it's in an alternative universe or anything like that, but it seems a lot more similar to the Thor comics in terms of its theming, but that fits with the character. Hercules, I expected Hercules to be closer to this from what I see, but what I'm looking at right now. But Hercules was more like Guardians of the Galaxy in a way. I mean, there were scrolls, and he traveled to different planets, and it was much more sci-fi based than I actually expected. Here's issue 2. I'm not going to talk about these for very long. This series really is for modern issues, you could say. Cool advertisement there. But I like to show off these old issues I get as well, because it's fun variety, and yeah. So, as you can see here, very similar, fighting some giants. And yep, and then here's issue 1. Issue 1 I like the cover quite a bit of. Issue 3 is quite a good cover as well. Doing battle in an arena of sorts, and these advertisements are always fun. Posters from back in the day, as you can see there. And yeah, like the kind of absence of space, creating kind of an ominous vibe that fits with the, it's not, you can't even see stars, it's just completely black, kind of gives it an interesting look there. Also quite a cool cover. All these covers are great, but super colorful there. And yeah, that's about it. I don't have much else to say on these. Cool snow there. I also picked up Justice. What sucked was that at my local comic book shop, when I originally got issues 1 through 3 and showed them off, I'll click the card in the top right to hear me talk about those. I remember there being more Justice issues there. I remember 4 being there. I didn't remember what other issues, and there were more issues, but there wasn't a lot, and they weren't in order like I thought. There's 1 through 3, and there's 4 here, which is great, but other than that, a lot of the other issues that were there, the handful of other ones, were all weirdly numbered. There was a 9, a 12, I think there was a 14, and that was about it. So that was kind of frustrating. I dug and dug and dug, went through a bunch of different long boxes, because I found these in the dollar. The past 3 issues and this, and one more I'm going to show you, all were in the dollar bin. But I was also looking through, they have them in alphabetical, so I was going through long box after long box trying to find, the J's, and going through hundreds of comics, literally digging through, and I just couldn't find any more Justice issues besides those ones I mentioned. Hold on. And so yeah, that was a bummer. Here's issue 9. You know, I like that cover there, kind of wrinkled and everything, but for $1, you know, you can't beat these. I enjoyed them for sure, and they got quite better with issue 3, and I'm excited to read issue 4. But yeah, 9 was the next issue I could find. I was gonna get as many, you know, I was thinking about, should I just get all of them? No, I picked up 9 just because, you know, I dug for so long. But really, I think I'll just, you know, I'll have to hunt them down online at some point. I'll probably, since I have 9 here, I'll probably read, you know, the issues I'm missing between 4 and this, you know, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Probably read that online. Look at that. Wow, that's cool. That almost looks like that's water there, and that's like the reflection of the city, but it's not exactly too, I can't really tell, but I like it. It's blurred together, kind of abstract, but you can still, you know, there's enough line work to kind of tell what it is. I don't know, that's cool in the way that it kind of fades between you know, the blackness of night and you know, the glow of the city. I don't know, that's cool for sure. I love snow scenes, and as you can see, just kind of cool kind of environmental design through this. I'm not going to flip much further because I don't really have a lot to talk about in that regard, but now we're going to move on to current issues or current issues from last week. Here we have the Marvels. I read an interview not very long, or a long time ago actually, I guess. Well, a long time ago. What is a long time ago? What is time? January-ish was when I read it, a long time ago in terms of comics coming out every week. And, you know, in January, I read an interview from the creator or writer of this, which, Kurt Busiek, and he talked about the potentials for the series and what it's about and why he's so excited to be working on it. And all these interviews that I've read for different series, I haven't read a ton, but from what I've read of, you know, the writers talking about it, they always seem so enthusiastic about the, you know, what they're working on. And, you know, sometimes I wonder how true that is, you know, if it's just they're happy that they're getting a paycheck, they're happy they're getting work, despite what's going on in the world currently. They're happy, you know, maybe they're not happy at all. It's just what Marvel wants them to say. You know, they're being paid for the interview or to say good things about, you know, checking out the series. I don't know. But this felt more genuine when I read it. And it really seemed, you can kind of guess where I'm going with this. It really seemed like the writer behind this was really excited. And maybe he is. And it got me excited. The series was pitched as basically the Avengers, but without restrictions. The Avengers, but it could take place in any time period. It doesn't have to take place in modern times. It could take place all over the world with any hero or any villain. You know, you can be fighting X-Men characters one, you know, issue, and you can be you know, teaming up with the Fantastic Four the next issue, bad guys from all over, you know, Marvel history. And basically it's Marvel history kind of it's a celebration of Marvel's history, you know. In this team, for example, you know, you got Black Cat and Iron Man, Captain America, but certain characters like, you know, Miss Marvel, is that? I'm gonna put a name on screen if I get that wrong, but Miss Marvel, I don't know. Storm, you know, normally isn't part of the X-Men. Black Cat, things of that nature. You have some new characters being featured for the first time here. So all that really sounded cool, sounded great. It really wasn't. There's names here. Oh, Captain Marvel. Sorry. Anyways, but it really wasn't. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't what was solicited. I don't know. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Technically, it is. It takes place in multiple time periods. Technically, it features characters from that wouldn't traditionally be in the Avengers crew. So I guess it is in a way what it solicited, but it wasn't. I don't know, it's kind of like there's a bunch of asterisks next to that. It takes place in multiple time periods, but it also doesn't really make much sense unless you read. It seems like it would read it better in trade. It doesn't really make sense as a first issue. It hops all over the place. There's a bunch of different characters, the Punisher and things, but the Punisher literally, this is where the Punisher, in terms of how many panels he's in, he's on this page. Okay, and one other page. Pretty much, I think that's it. 2 pages, maybe 3 pages. He blows up a building. Oh, 2 pages, and that might be it. Oh, 3 pages. He's on 3.5-ish, 3.5 pages. Oh, wow. And you're like, well, there's a lot of characters. They can't have them all be, you know, everywhere, but it doesn't it wasn't like a big Avengers style book. It was more like a book highlighting a bunch of events that take place in different locations, and each event has slight connections and effects on one another. It's Marvel's The Butterfly Effect, as opposed to Marvel's Adventures. And that was really my problem. That's not how it was advertised, and I felt kind of, a little tricked there. And I imagine they might team up later, but this is the first issue. You got to sell me on the first issue. You can't tell me, oh, well, it'll get better later. Oh, well, you just got to read the first 6 issues and then it'll all make sense. Well, explain it to me in the first issue. I still think I'm going to follow it just because it has potential, but I'm starting to get kind of a nonstop Spider-Man vibe when reading this, in the sense that it's like I'm holding out for something better. Again, it wasn't bad, and the writing was certainly better than nonstop Spider-Man. Geez, the dichotomies between different characters, Captain Marvel and Captain America, and new character and woman I'm forgetting the name of. I'll put on screen right now, hopefully. But anyways, it's not that important. Characters' names, geez. I forget people's names all the time. But the dichotomies and relationships between characters, they feel real. They feel not as robotic or as imaginary, you could say, as relationships do in other books I've read, such as Nonstop Spider-Man. But it just didn't sell me on the premise. It felt like I got something a lot different than what I wanted, and that thing isn't bad, but it just isn't that good either. A big portion of the story is it hops back between a bunch of different points. It's not Cambodia. Where is it? It's a non-fictional, or it's a fictional location. I forgot about that. Instead of actually using, that was kind of a point of contention online, but instead of using an actual real location, it takes place in a kind of a jungly Asian setting, that kind of a not very, kind of a politically uneased country in Southeast Asia. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Why would they call it something, you can see the name there. Why would they call it something that isn't a real country, but they would, like it feels like if they wanted to not get canceled, or they didn't want to, kind of piss off certain groups, naming it something else, but having every other aspect tied to history and, political tensions in that area doesn't escape you from those people, because if they're not, I hope maybe they are dumb enough to not understand what they're referring to, but I think most people would. So it's like, what is the point? Or if they, I don't know. It's not really a big deal, but it was just kind of weird and felt like, come on. Anyways, some cool art here. Art's not bad at all, but overall, just the story is so inconsistent. This is like the best way of showing this off. Okay, it starts off in French Indochina, 1947, and there's different ties to the location that they're talking about, and different events that have taken place. I don't exactly know how to describe it further than that without either giving something away or also it's just confusing as all heck, because it jumps all over. Then it jumps 12 years ago, but 12 years ago from this point, or a different point, because it seems futuristic when we get to the present. So it's like, I don't know, it's just weird. And then you have these soldiers that are trading drugs in the area, and kind of reflects different events that are taking place in that area. Daredevil's there performing tricks, but other than that, there doesn't seem to be a reason for him being there. It's just to show that we're still reading a Marvel comic book. There's Daredevil dancing in the background, doing gymnastics, and then it shows an event that's taking place over here, and basically what Captain America has been doing in 10 days ago. Okay, do I care what he was doing 10 days ago, if 10 days ago is considered now? I don't know, it's weird. And then he infiltrates this area years and years later, only 10 days ago, even though the present is somewhat futuristic. So it's I don't know. And he lands in this place, takes some guys out, finds out that this lady that I have no idea who she is, seems new to me, that she's doing bad stuff with bad soldiers, and I guess she's the same lady from 1947 right here, I suppose. And yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't add up to me. I don't know. Basically, I'm confused as all heck. It takes place in, and and then he calls upon all these different characters, and you have, I already listed them, some of them, but you have, the Avengers, new group of Avengers characters, ready to fight, and then you don't see the fight. It jumps to Brooklyn now, and then you have kind of boring conversations. They feel genuine. They're kind of funny, but overall, you skip out on the action. I mean, it's a first issue, and then you follow a lot of the life of this new character here, which he's a tour guide in this kind of current day supposedly setting, and he tours people around New York City and shows them basically certain sites and locations where superheroes are bound to be. And he does that so that they can see some superhero action, hopefully, and they do. So we get to see a little bit of action, but I mean, there's really not a lot of it. Most of it's dialogue and explanation and setup. But the problem is it's so spread out, like I said, between so many different time periods. It just becomes confusing. Wasn't what I asked for. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. I don't know. I don't know. I probably haven't learned my lesson and will buy issue 2. It depends if that's a heavy week or not. If I'll take it off the list and skip issue 2 and just drop the series. I don't know. X Factor. Well, it takes place in the X Factor timeline. X-Men Legends number 3 was pretty good. This takes place during I think 1986's X Factor, I think. And we follow Archangel and Animal, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Iceman, and Beast, Iceman, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Archangel, and they're all hanging out on this ship that was originally Apocalypse's. This dude's Apocalypse, big bad, and he's basically on a vendetta to kill mutants. They're hanging out, taking care of some kid that's not theirs as far as I know. I didn't think it was theirs. Kind of a cute scene here. And crap goes bad, basically. The two things are going on. The ship what was real cool, I didn't know this before because this is supposed to be like X Factor lore, but supposedly the ship has existed for so long that it's actually evolved over time. The AI of the ship has evolved over time, and therefore it has basically past heritage and what would you call it, certain traits that have been suppressed, and those traits can come to the forefront and are basically kind of flaws in the AI that it has developed over time. So these flaws caused it to act out irrationally and basically block them out from entering, as you can see down here, hopefully, block them out from entering the ship. And, of course they want the baby that's inside that's sleeping, so they have to save the baby, basically. And they're going through the ship, and it basically keeps transforming and changing around them, so they have to shoot through different doors and use their powers to get through. And, they're not fighting a real enemy, but it's colorful. The artwork is, similar in the sense that it pays homage to the art of the time and tries to replicate that. I mean, it's obviously not the same if you look at X Factor art from the time, but it's close enough to do its job, and it's real cool that that they keep, the whole series, kind of the gimmick of the series is that X-Men Legends is that it's a X-Men series that isn't tied to one particular group of X-Men. It isn't tied to one particular era or style. It hops all over and jumps between many different eras of X-Men. Originally for issue 1 and 2, it followed followed 1990s, 1991's style anyways, 1991 style X-Men, if I remember correctly, and this is following 1986's X Factor. And the arts, they try to have the art be the same, they try to have the writing be similar, the characters are of course the same, and they try and continue storylines off of original storylines from those eras. And that's kind of the cool part. It may seem like it may be disorienting for people if they're not up to their, if they're not caught up on X-Men lore, or if they are like me and haven't read much X-Men at all. But it's not, actually. I'm able to, personally at least, I have kind of a high tolerance to that. I'm able to kind of get what's going on and imply certain things, and I'm okay with that. I Googled a few things as well to kind of clear some things up, but I didn't really need to. And I think that's a sign of good writing, being able to just hop in and kind of get what's going on without needing to look anything up. But then knowing that you can look things up and there's more complexity underneath the surface. So yeah, the ship continues to transform into different kind of mutate around them, and they need to attack and things. And the panel work is a little confusing here. I'd say this and a few other pages are a little bit cluttered in terms of what's going on, and I wish things were a little bit flowed a little nicer on the page. And also, I guess if I'm in the critique zone, I could say that the issue really doesn't amount to. I mean, it's good. It amounts to something, but it's not as ballistic as I thought it would be. I wish there was a bit more action. The action is mostly just fighting the ship. That's good to begin with, but that's malfunctioning. But at the same time, like a giant big fight scene like I had thought it would be, and that's okay. It fits with kind of the mood of the art and such, and it's not a bad thing. I'm just, if I was to make a complaint, that would be my complaint. But despite those things, it's still quite enjoyable. If I was to give it a rating, I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10. Very solid. And that's definitely good for today's standards as well, because there's a lot of issues that I read, as you probably have seen, that I'm like, it's okay, it's not bad. This is good for sure, very solid. And there's other stuff going on that kind of, set up for the next issue, because this is a 2-part story arc, and that's why I kind of talked a lot about it. I'd say this is like light spoilers, but there's not really a ton. It's kind of, again, it's not a super action-packed issue with a lot of cliffhangers and things. So, and then of course, I don't know why I'd say of course, Apocalypse and this dude that's going to help him basically kill the mutants once and for all. He's get suited up in this suit of armor basically, and has come to attack them. And the pain keeps coming. They don't never get a break. When's our downtime? Oh, it's over, I suspect, this time. The emphasis will be on down. So yeah, enjoyable issue for sure. Next up, we have Alien Issue 2. Alien Issue 1, I enjoyed for sure. I just thought that it had some main issues that I really hope would have continued, wouldn't have continued, such as, and those things are the kid of our main man in the last issue was, well, is that a spoiler? Anyways, there's a certain character. The son was really obnoxious. Just, oh man, I wanted to see him ripped to shreds by an alien, basically, the moment I saw him. And it only got worse as time went on. And he's still an important character in this issue. Geez, I'm starting to forget. I read this just a couple days ago. Actually, no, we don't know. We don't know yet. No, we don't know yet if he's still an important character, but that was a main issue with the first issue, and that's not here because he's not present in this issue, if I'm remembering correctly from flipping through there. But he still could be a annoyance later on, so we don't, well, I don't think that's a spoiler. We don't know if he's killed. I kind of hope he is, because he was really annoying. I don't know. But also some other issues I had. I didn't think the art was fantastic, and I also thought that the whole thing wasn't really that scary. It was more just it was more Alien 2-ish in the sense that it was action heavy, but it also didn't have or more action heavy than I would have liked. Yeah, it had to do with aliens, but it didn't feel like Alien, if that makes sense. And you're like, oh, are you saying that Alien 2 doesn't feel like Alien? Kinda. I mean, I love Alien 2, or really like Alien 2, but I really like Alien 2, but Alien 1 I loved. I'm way more of an Alien 1 fan, and this feels like, this doesn't even feel as well written as a movie like Alien 2. I mean, that's hard to do, but my point nonetheless is that it's similar in the sense that it's way more action focused, and it more has to do with aliens as opposed to being scary. But on top of that, it's also not well written like, Alien 2 or like anything remotely close to that. So because of those two factors, it kind of is missing something. It's not bad, it's enjoyable for what it is, but it's almost like it feels like alien fan fiction, I guess is a good way of putting that. And this continues that trend, but thankfully the annoying son may be out for the count. You'll still have to wait and see. And but the art is also just as the same. Some cool color work, shadows and things of that nature, but the main way that faces and things are drawn, and kind of the cleanness of things, simplicity in certain designs, I'm just not a fan of. The shadow work and coloring somewhat makes up for it, but there's just not enough detail in certain elements, and the way that faces are drawn, and kind of certain elements of the line work I'm just not a fan of personally. The kind of almost clay-like look of people's faces is a big element of that. But it's not bad overall. The plot continues the first one. The son did something, causes the alien to be let loose, let's just put it that way, and the dad has to, which is him, the dad has to basically come out of retirement and save the day, stop the alien, and so on. But there's some kind of cool elements put in involving kind of legalities of why he has to be involved, similar to Ridley in Alien 2, I guess. Yeah, it's actually pretty similar to. I hadn't have even thought of that before. But the dad gets roped into this more than just because of his son's involved, but because of weird legality stuff. Well, I don't know if legality is the right term. In this, it kind of is. In Alien 2, it's not exactly. But he gets roped in very similar to Ridley in Alien 2. Let's just put it that way. And there's also, though, there's still not a lot of action as much as I'd like. And it's not as high. The action that we do get isn't very high quality yet. But there's definitely more scares in this than in the first issue. But I think it's overall just a bit too slow. I think things should pick up in speed. I think the art, someone was talking about, I forget who was talking about this review-wise, but I was watching somebody talk about how different artists that they think should join the book instead, and I agree. I think the art should change. It's not bad. In certain elements it looks good, like here, but again, there's certain elements I don't like of it, so there's room for improvement, but there's some solid elements here. It's definitely kind of the kind of cool, not freaky elements, I don't know, are starting to increase, but it still kind of feels not well written enough to be kind of an action-packed blockbuster comic, but it also isn't actually scary either. So it's kind of in a weird space there, but there's enough going for it that I want to continue reading it and seeing where it goes. It's definitely progressing into something that's interesting, and there's a lot of plot elements that feel like they could amount to something greater. But we'll have to wait and see. And finally, for new issues that I have something to talk about, we have Beta Ray Bill issue 2. This was good. I saved probably the best for last. Saved the best for last pretty much. Beta Ray Bill issue 1 I really liked. Gave it a solid 4 stars on my League of Comic Geeks. League of Comic Geeks, which is a comic rating site. You can log the issues you have, so on. I put reviews there. I discuss comics with people. I have all the comics, mostly 90% of all comics I own are logged there, so you can check out my collection and see what I think of it and all that kind of stuff. So check it out, man. I'll put the link in the description below. But issue 1 I really liked, and this issue is really good as well. Not as good as issue 1, but still quite enjoyable. Here's Scuttlebutt. That's the name of his ship. And the way this is laid out is real cool because you get to see him progress through here and go in different directions. Where did he go here? But anyways, you get the point. You see, basically, it's kind of hard to see here, but if you look closely, you can see basically little shadows and outlines of all the places he went to in his ship. So that's real cool. And I really like the art. Daniel Warren Johnson did Dead Earth, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, and that was kind of a critically acclaimed Wonder Woman story that I'd like to check out at some point. If you'd like to see me cover it later, if you know about it or anything, tell me in the comments below. But yeah, he did that, and he's kind of a famous artist for his rugged look, and I really think it fits a comic in the Thor universe, especially Beta Ray Bill. It feels like it's in motion is kind of what I think of. It's rugged, it's raw, it's dirty looking, but I like it. You know, it fits that medieval kind of sci-fi theming that Thor comics are known for, and it feels like things are in motion, especially here, you know, with big action scenes. You know, you can feel every punch. You can you know, see every action as it takes place. And basically in issue 1, Beta Ray Bill's Mjolnir kind of weapon, Stormbreaker, there you go. His weapon, known as Stormbreaker, was broken by Thor it was broken prior. It was broken in the first few issues of Donny Cates' Thor run from like 2020. And during the whole Herald Galactus thing, and there was a fight between Beta Ray Bill and Thor. Thor's basically weapon that allowed him to transform between Beta Ray Bill and his warrior horse form and his more humanoid form was broken. That was Stormbreaker. He can't transform between the two figures, so he's stuck like this. And since he's stuck like this, it has a lot of social repercussions on his life, and he wants to be able to turn back into you know, his more humanoid alien self. And so he tries to seek Odin's help, and that's what this issue is about, hunting down Odin, because he's left after some things went on I won't get into. Odin left the Asgard's control to Thor, and he's the new king of Asgard. So Odin's been down on his luck lately, sitting in a bar in a galaxy far, far away. Beta Ray Bill finds him and figures out basically that this is spoilers kind of, but not exactly, finds him and figures out that he has to travel to a dark realm, Muspelheim. For people that know how to pronounce these things, I probably just made a bunch of people shudder, but he has to travel to this basically dark dimension that you can see here and find this sword. And using this sword, he'll be able to channel energy to turn himself back. Is he going to be able to use the sword to craft himself a weapon? I don't know. I'm actually a little pulling a blank on this a little bit, but basically he has to travel to this dark dimension and that no one has returned from. So he sets sails along with some companions that he kind of found along the way that were stowed on a ship, and decides to go for it. And you know, there's not nearly as much action or big ballistic things going on as it was in issue 1, but that's perfectly fine for me. Even though I kind of wish that these issues were longer and that they encompassed more, that's really not a bad thing. That's only because these are single issues and it feels like they would read better in trade, but they still read really good in single issues as well. And I think that's because of how much kind of, even though there's not a lot of action, there's still so much forward progression. You know, he explores his ship, finds people that are stowing away on a ship. He finds Odin. He hangs out with Odin, talks to him. You figure out exactly kind of what's been going on with him, and you figure out kind of where the story is going to progress to. He travels to the dimensional gate that he needs to go to, and has basically a chat with the guardians that are protecting the gate and stopping any monsters and creatures from coming out of it, and discusses kind of what may happen to Beta Ray Bill, and that's real cool. So even though there's not a lot of big action or things, you don't really need it because there's so much cool dialogue and things going on, and such awesome artwork. And to top it off, there's a cool ending that I won't really spoil, I guess, that has to do with Scuttlebutt and the AI of the ship. And yeah, a great issue. Not as good as issue 1, but still really good art, and I I just love seeing the progression. A lot happens in one issue despite it may not seeming like it, and the writing is really top-notch. And that was it for modern issues, but now I'm going to progress to the issues I got this week that I haven't read yet that I'll show off briefly. I haven't watched very much of The Walking Dead, but I remember watching maybe like 2 episodes, parts of episodes on TV, and one of the only episodes, I should say, that I read, or one of the only episodes that I've watched is The Walking Dead, a Walking Dead episode where they are holding out in a jail. And this is where I imagine this issue takes place. I'm almost caught up again. I stopped at like issue 12, I think it was, and I reread the series, went all the way back up, and now I reread all the way back up to like 10 or 11 or something. So I'm almost ready to. I'm gonna read the rest of them probably tonight or tomorrow night, and then I'll be caught up and ready to read this issue. And I'll tell you guys what I think probably in the next one. I don't know. I've kind of gotten behind on talking about The Walking Dead, and I've just kind of been showing these issues off. But yeah, they're holding off in the prison, as you can see here. If you've watched The Walking Dead, you probably remember this because I haven't even watched very much of The Walking Dead, and I remember this. So, and I guess my mother also has talked about it because she commented kind of on remembering this because she used to watch the show as well. The Swamp Thing, issue 3 out of 10. Really progressing here. I love the orange, kind of a vibrant orange lettering there. Some cool art as always, and I'm excited to see what the series progresses into. I won't talk about, just like with back issues, I don't really want to talk about stuff that I don't have much to say on for very long because I don't want to bog down the video. It's probably already as long as it is, but Poison Ivy gets involved somehow, and some other woman that people probably know that's not Poison Ivy, I guess. 2 Poison Ivies? I don't know. Batman 108, new character here is being shown off. Miracle Molly. Looks more like, wannabe Miley Cyrus or something. I don't know. And the art is good in this series for the most part, but I'm kind of worried. Issue 1 of this arc, I should say, issues 106, there you go. Issues 106 I wasn't crazy on, but had potential. Issues 107 really picked things up. I like the action in that issue, and the story really started progressing nicely, but I was still worried about certain kind of lingering elements that are supposed to be setting up what Future State showed us is a possible future. So I'm kind of worried about that, and as you can see, there's some changes to some, long-term characters in the Batman mythos, and I'm just kind of worried that it's not going to be executed properly, but we'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see until I talk about it, or, read it yourself or something. But, we'll see. I have hope. And finally, we have Nocterra issue 3. I really enjoyed issue 1. Haven't read issue 2 yet because I don't have it. Wasn't able to track it down at my comic book shop, so I'll have to buy it online. I'll probably read it online digitally before so I can hop right into this issue. That's how much I'm enjoying this series. If you need any reason to know, if you need any kind of acclamations or acclamity, is that the right word? I don't know. If you need reasons to read this series, this is it, or this is your reason. It's good enough where I'm going to not even wait until issue 2 comes in. I'm going to, go read issue 2 online just so I can read this probably tonight. That's how much I'm enjoying this series. It's, of course, not perfect, not fantastic. I enjoy some other series currently more, but it's up there for sure. And it has a lot of potential to continue being up there. The world has fallen to darkness. Nocterra, land in eternal darkness, nocturnal. And we follow this woman, and she's a human smuggler, a person transporter, if you will. And she takes people between different outposts. These outposts are positioned throughout the land that has been enveloped in darkness, and these locations are filled with lights to try and keep the darkness away. If people are in the darkness for more than a few hours, they turn into these creatures. These creatures are basically like zombie demon creatures, and if you get attacked by one, I believe you turn into the darkness as well. And yeah, this old man supposedly promises that there's this promised land that will be able to cure our main girl's stepbrother, from turning into the darkness. He was in the darkness too long, and he's basically transfiguring into a creature, as you can see here. They're stepbrothers. They're stepbrothers. Yeah, stepbrothers. No, they're step siblings. So, yeah. And she is, is hoping that this promised land is true, that she really will be able to attain a cure, some kind of way of healing him in time. And that's really kind of the way this is laid out. We have she's taking her and the old guy to the promised land. He's the ticking time clock, so to speak, the plot device for her to basically have to hurry before he turns into one of them. And on top of that, the tension is that the old man is supposedly the one that caused the land to be enveloped into darkness. So there's different mercenaries and people that are basically hunting him down to kill him, and inadvertently them, because she's involved with him, all that. So yeah. Thank you all very much for watching. This was a long one. It took me quite a while, a lot of different cuts. I'm sorry if that bothered anybody, especially those that watched the whole thing. Thank you very much. Tell me why you watched the whole thing if you did. I expect a lot of people, of course, because these are so long, that people will just hop around and watch what they want. So, that's why I put the chapters in these videos, because I cover quite a wide variety of things. And again, any suggestions of how I can make the series better or what you like, so I know to continue doing it next time, please tell me. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Aloha!